The Guardians finished 13 games in 13 days in style with their first sweep of 2026. We've got a lineup change to discuss and mock drafts to react to on today's episode.
Parker Messick, Cleveland Guardians. You're listening to Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Get the brooms out. The Angels are swept out of town. You got your vacuum on there somewhere, Jeff?
Of course. I got it. It's out and ready to go. First sweeper of the year. I got it. Not going to turn it on and annoy people with the sound and plug it in. But I got my little
Jeff does have his cleaning out. Yes, the Guardians finish a 13 games in 13-day stretch in style. Love to see that. Good game from Parker Messick once again. The offense did just enough. The bullpen continues to be good. We'll talk about all that. The bullpen change. We've got a lineup change to talk about. We've got a mock draft to react to, all on this episode. We are your Cleveland Guardians podcast every single day. Locked On Guardians, your team from the majors, the minors, the draft, and everything in between. That's Jeff Ellis. I'm Justin Lada. Jeff's got 8 years hosting this show. I've got 4. We've both covered the team for 19 years, from the minors to the draft. I got to be honest, I didn't think they were going to see a sweep, Jeff. I really didn't. They haven't had one this year, and it just seems like every time this team wins 2 or 3 in a row, they go back downhill and they lose 2 or 3 in a row. They've been team streak this year. This is the first sweep they've had of the year. It's their 3rd or 4th 3-game winning streak, I think, but they haven't put together in one series. Reed Detmers in general has been the kind of pitcher that, he's having a good year, and he's the kind of pitcher that normally gives his team fits too. He's not a changeup heavy guy, but he's a lefty. Although I did look up the other day, we were talking about this off air. The Guardians do have better numbers against lefties than righties this year, which is very strange because they have all the left-handers in the lineup. But we figured out that DeLauter and Bazzana and even Jose Ramirez crushing lefties this year. David Fry, I didn't look at him, but they've also haven't faced that many lefties, so not really a surprise. But they get it done because Parker Messick, the 4 runs is great, right? They added on after the first inning to close things up. But Parker Messick, once again, I don't think Parker Messick's getting enough respect in the Rookie of the Year conversation, Jeff. Like, everyone's talking about Kevin McGonigle and Chase DeLauter, and I know Murakami is up there in Rookie of the Year too. I think we're seeing a lot of people just not realize how darn good Parker Messick is. I think it's unfair.
Where do you think after today he ranks in starting pitching WAR? Just of all starting pitchers, where do you think he ranks currently?
He's got to be in the top 10, right?
He is 12th.
Wow. Okay, so right there.
Most surprising names ahead of him. Seth Lugo might move down after his game today. But it goes Cam. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name because I don't want to get a language warning. Then Dylan Cease, Christopher Sanchez, Max Fried, Jacob Mizorowski, Davis Martin, most surprising name on the list, Lugo, Skeens, Imanaga, Skubal, McLean, Messick, and right after Messick, DeGrom and Soriano. So those are some nice names. Reed Detmers, by the way, at 17th. This, I know people will be like, oh, who cares? They swept the Angels. This is not as bad of an Angels team as their record would show. I want to be on record as saying that. They got Detmers and Soriano.
Their bullpen's very bad. Their
bullpen is really bad, but they have a nice 1-2 punch. And outside of left field and catcher, and they're down to their 3rd and 4th string catchers.
Crazy.
The lineup is okay. Like, Von Grissom's been a nice find. A lot of guys are doing just, enough to get by. And a lot of players are Mike Trout, a shadow of Mike Trout is still a darn good player. So this Angels team, I think, I'm not saying they're a playoff bound because they're not, don't get me wrong, with the mess of their bullpen, but like, this was not a team that, you were guaranteed anything with. I think the Twins are worse than the Angels. I got to be honest. So it was nice to see them. Yeah, it was great to not have to face Soriano, but Reed Detmers has been an excellent pitcher this year, and they showed up. And the last 2 games were just classic guards ball. Like, they got guys on base, they advanced them, and they actually made contact when you had a runner on third with less than 2 outs, which, it was something that, like, if they could do that in the Twin series, they would have swept them. And I very intentionally on last night's show and throughout today never allowed myself to think a sweep could happen because I talked about it. I thought, hey, they might get a sweep as I was dealing with flooding during the Cardinals series, and then they blew that game. Like that was the game they blew late, and then they lost the next one. And after they beat the Twins and they kept having opportunities before that game went to extra innings, I'm like, hey, maybe this will be the first time they get the sweep. And then they lost the next two. So I was very intentional. I was like, nope, sweep's not happening. Nope, no sweep's happening. And then, it's finally happened. It was nice to see. It was a fun game. We'll get into a lot of bits and pieces and parts because it was a very interesting game. But yeah, Messick. I was going to pull up Scooble. Fangraphs is kind of being slow for me. I think I have to put on no splits. There we go. So if I just look rookies offensively, Kevin McGonigle's at a 1.7. Messick's at a 1.4. Murakami and DeLauter are tied at a 1.2. Okamoto is at a 1.1 as the who would be the next guy up. And then Venezuela and Basalo are kind of both down the line. I could look at pitchers as well, but yeah, I mean, he is right up there. It's hard with Murakami hitting all the home runs, and it's hard with McGonigle having all the
going to get votes. Yeah, that's going to get a lot of votes.
Because like Murakami being a first baseman, he's got 15 home runs though, and a 146 WR. Like I think he has so Murakami has a 146 WRC plus. For those who don't know, we've talked about on the show, but it kind of takes everything, boils it down, and says how good you've been offensively. So he's at 146. DeLauter's at a 145. So even though one has 15 home runs and one has 6, like just the way they approach, Murakami striking out 36% of the time and Chase is at 9.9. I mean, heck, Travis Bazzana is 10th in rookie WRC plus already. And like, he hasn't even been up here that long, and he's tied for 10th in WAR as well with his short time up. Like it just speaks to how much these kind of young players have carried this team.
Yeah. Messick wasn't really locked in early in this game either. Like he had a couple of walks. He was having some issues with command, and then he got 2 double plays in a row at the end of the innings. That really helped him out.
It was a DP heavy game. Cleveland had 2 early too.
Cleveland had a couple as well too, but yeah, they had good at bats overall. I thought in this game, I mean, Chase had 2 hits, had one of the RBIs. David Fry got himself an RBI. Was that a sac fly? Bazzana had 2 hits in this one, so he's seeing. I mean, one of those hits was a seeing eye single, and the other one was a blooper. But you'll take them where you can get them. The other thing I want to point out too is just again 13 games in 13 days. That is a long stretch. This is the second stretch the Guardians have had this season where they've had that many games in that many days, and it really tests your pitching staff. It really tests, especially the bullpen. We'll talk about the bullpen move on Wednesday in the next segment. But offense, Jeff, not through Wednesday. Who do you think the best hitter was in this 13-game stretch on the Guardians by WRC plus?
I would have guessed DeLauter.
He's third, 180 WRC plus in this 13-game stretch. He played 11 games.
Rocchio
was 8th coming into this game.
Wow. I knew he had been hot of late, so I let that.
Your top two hitters in this 13-game stretch, Jeff. David Fry at 214 WRC plus, and Austin Hedges 181. So the Guardians don't have a catching problem at offense. That's why they got Patrick Bailey, because Fry and Hedges can carry you offensively at catcher, and Patrick Bailey does all the defense. Rhys Hoskins 121 WRC plus, only batting 130 in this stretch, but a 353 on base and a 435 slug. So we were talking about that the other day about how long that'll keep up. He'll take that. 117 WRC plus by Kyle Manzardo. Everybody else was below, including Jose at 61 and Quan at 59. If you look over on the pitching side of things, also a really good stretch for a lot of guys. Colin Holderman was really good. Cade Smith. Tim Herron actually had a really good stretch. I know he kind of lived on the edge. 372 FIP. That's not terrible. Joey Cantillo, 3 ERA.
Solid. Anything sub 4, I'd say, is solid.
Yeah, Parker wasn't great during the stretch, but today's start will bring it down a little bit. Slade Codi, 394 FIP in his last 3 starts. So you like that. Bidey, Festa, Paulette, and ironically Gavin Williams, not great during this stretch, but you went 8-5. You went 8-5 in this stretch. And Eric Zabrowski, by the way, pitched in 6 games in this 13-game stretch, did not allow a single run.
He was a little more wild, though. I'll say that. He didn't allow a run, but boy, he made things interesting with some of his wildness.
0.76 FIP in this stretch.
I know it just guys can't hit him, even though he's up there.
Cade Smith in this 13 game stretch had a negative FIP. So he's closer to Mason Miller now.
Yeah, he's definitely one of my players of the game. I mean, it wasn't quite an immaculate inning, but it wasn't that far. So that's like 2 games in a row where he just came out and mowed down the side. He struck out the side at least, right?
He did strike out the side.
Yeah.
The fastball and the splitter's back. So that's the good thing. For all the people that worried about Cade Smith early in the season, don't have to worry anymore. He's leads the league in saves. All right, we'll talk more about the bullpen. We got a lineup change to talk about, including Jose Ramirez, and got a mock draft we've been stewing on from Baseball America. Want to react to? Good chance to talk about some interesting things in that draft and how weird things are right now in this class as it pertains to the 19th pick. All right, raise your hand if you've only ever opened your bank account and thought, where did all my money go? I'm raising my hand. You're not alone. Keeping track of subscription spending bills gets very complicated, very overwhelming fast, and that is where Rocket Money is really important to helping you take control of your finances all in one place. Look, we're all trying to save a buck here somewhere or other. Bills are flying high, prices are flying high, things are out of control, and we're all spending money on subscriptions on this app and that platform to watch a playoff game, to watch a movie, to watch a quarter of this event. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that's going to help you find and cancel any unwanted subscriptions. It's going to monitor your spending for you, help you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Very important for all of us this day and age, especially the millennial generation, I will say. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockdown. That's rocketmoney.com/lockdown. Shout out to all the people that make Locked On Guardians your first listen today, every day, whatever you get podcasts. If you hear this every day and you haven't joined the Everydayer Club, why not? It's just $5 a month, and that gets you ad-free episodes of the show in your favorite audio platform and access to the private group chat with myself, Jeff, other fans of the show, as well as other Locked On channels, all the channels that are available with all their fans and all their hosts too. So why not continue the conversation at lockedonguardians.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes. Man, the bullpen, though, was pretty good in this stretch. I mean, Zabrowski was great. Holderman was a revelation. Cade Smith is back to being Cade Smith. Herron was a little bit better in this stretch.
Gaz slowly improved.
Yeah, towards the end. His numbers overall in the stretch were not good.
Not good, but yeah.
Festa was not great. And Connor Brogdon, who is now driving a bus. Actually, okay, so I should probably say why I said that. My wife a couple weeks ago, this should have been a foretelling. My wife a couple weeks ago had a dream that Connor Brogdon was driving a bus in her school district, and I think like 4 or 5 days later he was DFA'd. So if my wife has any more dreams about Guardians players with odd jobs, I'll let you know. Hopefully.
We don't have any info on him yet, right? Like he didn't. We're assuming he clears waivers, and he cannot elect free agency without giving up his money. And since it was more than the minimum, I think they were very intentional in giving him $900,000 because of situations like this. So he has to,
fair.
I think for him, it's like, well, why would I give up, $120,000 to test free agency? Like,
this is true. I don't think bus driver jobs pay that much. So yeah,
no.
I think you can safely say he's probably going to Columbus. Speaking of which, Guardians did make a bullpen move on Wednesday. So it sounded like there was a chance Codi Heuer was coming up at some point anyway. Peyton Paulette's wife is, I guess, due any day. So congrats to the Paulettes. So he might be hitting the paternity list any day. So that might have been where you were going to see Codi Heuer anyway. But Franco Alamon pitched a couple of innings on Tuesday, and then the bullpen was also very taxed from Tuesday because Slade's going 1-4 innings. So you had Gaddis, you had Zabrowski, you had Festa, you had Holder. I think everybody they threw a lot of arms on Tuesday, so they wanted a fresh arm. So I know there's a lot of people who are upset that Franco Alamon was already sent back down. I think that was just a numbers game. The Guardians basically said, like, yeah, it was just that he had options. Colin Holderman had options too, but he has had a nice extended stretch where he's been pretty solid. So that's why Codi Heuer got the call and Franco Aleman went back down. And I had some people, Jeff, ask about who is Codi Heuer and why is he up. So Codi Heuer was part of what trade was that? Was that the Jose Quintana trade?
No, he was. I know him best for the closer. He went with Nick Madrigal and Codi Heuer.
Oh, Craig Kimbrell. Craig Kimbrell.
Yes, that's where I know.
He was a White Sox prospect. He was a 6th-round pick. And he was traded to the Cubs for Craig Kimbrell, which was a stupid trade. Although Madrigal didn't really work out for the Cubs as much as I liked him, and we realized that profile just doesn't work. But Heuer missed I think 2 years with some arm injuries, some surgeries.
Yeah. He was great after the trade. One could argue he was better than Kimbrell after they made that trade.
He was. So he does have major league success in 2020 and 2021. 2021, he pitched a lot of innings. His numbers weren't as good, but he pitched a lot of innings that year. So he throws pretty hard up in the upper 90s, has a good slider, has not missed a ton of bats in the minors this year, has had some walk issues, but overall the stuff has really come back from those surgeries. He's only 29. He'll be 30 in July. So this is basically his age 29 season. So I don't know if he's more than a first guy out of the pen if you're losing, if a starter goes short kind of guy, but his stuff is good enough, and the fact that he has 2 options is probably what made him attractive to Cleveland and why they decided to put him on the 40-man roster after spring training. So he'll get a shot, but he'll probably go back. That's the guy to me you eliminate when Armstrong comes back, now that you sent Aleman back down.
Yeah, it's also good to give themselves kind of a look and see what they got just in general, because with the 40-man crunch we have talked about and how that's just going to get worse as the year goes on and even into the offseason. Like, you got to see what you got here. You got to see if this is a player that's worth keeping around, especially if you're going to have Brogdon down there more than likely soon, and you're going to have some other options down there. If Aleman is going to kind of be a limbo guy for a bit, like, you actually have a decent amount of relief depth. So if it doesn't work out with Cody, then you can see if he passes through waivers. If someone claims him, like, he just feels like kind of a little bit of a luxury. But you need to have depth of relievers. You have to count on someone getting hurt. You have to make moves like this when your bullpen gets overtaxed. You need guys like him. He is kind of like this year's Zach Kent in a way, who's, I think every team in baseball has claimed Zach Kent at this point in time.
Yeah, fair. I think he's a little better than Kent in terms of current stuff. Like, if you just go look at his data in the minors, like, he's not getting hit hard. He's getting a ton of whiffs, ironically not striking a lot of guys out, but guys are chasing. He's not hitting him hard. He's got good extension. So there's a lot of really good things here that I don't think Kent ever could do. But you're right, this is a good call, because if you use Codi Heuer a couple times throughout the next few weeks while he's up, or week or so whenever Sean Armstrong comes back, like you said, it's kind of a luxury. You kind of get the idea of, okay, is Codi Heuer a guy we want to keep on the roster as far as like up and down depth, or is he roster fodder? Like, this is a good chance to see if you have that fungible spot in the roster, or if it's more than that. Like, it's a good problem to have if he is more than that, but now you get a chance to see it. So I think that's a good call.
Yeah, no, I don't have any issues with it, because I understand why people are a little bit annoyed with it, but I would also just say that
Aleman will be back. He'll be back.
And it's, it's a numbers game. You need that type of depth, and they needed, just in case. Messick was great, don't get me wrong, but in case you needed that depth, you needed a sacrificial lamb.
Mm-hmm. All right. We had other changes that happened on Wednesday as well, Jeff. A lineup change I don't think we thought we would ever see. We'll see how long that sticks around, and we'll dive into that next. The NBA playoffs are here. Every possession matters, especially when your team turns it over. It gets down by 15. But I digress. If you're looking to get closer to the action, FanDuel has a great offer to get you started. Right now, if you're a new customer, you can bet just $5 and get $100 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. So you could turn $5 into $150 in bonus bets just for getting started with a very quick, easy bet on FanDuel. Checking on FanDuel, we don't have Ohio Cup odds yet on FanDuel, but we should soon. We know that's a very important matchup that everyone's going to be checking the odds on. And FanDuel, I did look at the Rookie of the Year odds, though, and Munetaka Murakami plus 170, Kevin McGonigle plus 200, Chase DeLauter plus 550, Kazuma Okamoto plus 1,200. We don't get to Parker Messick until 5 at plus 1,600. That feels light. That feels like an atrocity to me. But you can head to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. I did not realize that Okamoto was up in the Rookie of the Year standings. Again, thanks everybody who has subscribed on YouTube. We did pass 6K the other day if you missed the show. So shout out to everybody who has subscribed. Continue to do that. And we appreciate your continued support. Hit the bell on YouTube so you get reaction videos to every game, news, episodes when they go live, and auto download on all your favorite audio platforms. Keep the show in your podcast feed for when you're driving, walking your dog, going to the gym, whatever it may be. I can't believe, and maybe it makes sense because of the struggles, we haven't really had this extended conversation on air, and I've been trying, maybe I've been avoiding it, but Jose's sitting second, and we never thought we'd see that again. Probably should mention that Angel Martinez had the leadoff home run. That was fun.
Yep.
Angel had home run from each side of the plate in this series, so good for him. It comes in waves.
Didn't he? I mean, weren't they both off? Oh, I guess yesterday was a righty, right? I'm sorry.
Yeah, yesterday was a right-hander.
I just had a brain fart moment. I apologize.
Yeah, Walbert Urania and his changeup, which I heard after the game yesterday that was the first home run anybody has hit off his changeup this year. And poor guy is like, wait a second, they told me that this team couldn't hit changeups, and they can't.
Well, they couldn't the rest of the game.
Yeah, they could the rest of the game, but Angel got one. But then he ends up getting one off for Detmers to lead off the game, so that was fun. I guess I'd take Angel in the leadoff spot over Quan, but I still think it needs to be Bazzana. But I was surprised to see Jose hitting second. We've talked a lot off air about how weird things have gone for him and whether or not there's something to be concerned about. We're kind of on different sides of that, and I don't know, maybe this is the time to get into it because we want to talk mock draft, but I think it's a good call to give it a shot. Like, you put DeLauter behind him, and maybe DeLauter offers some protection for Jose, because as much as Manzaro's been better lately, he still is not DeLauter. So I'm not against it. Again, we talked about the other day. If you have Bazzana up top, you have all three guys who have more walks and strikeouts, the top of the order. I'm not against it, though. I think it's worth trying to see if it changes how he's being pitched and see if it can, shake him out of this slump he's been in. So I'd be curious to see if they stick with it. Stephen Vogt said after the game that he's been thinking about it for a while. So that tells me that at least this may not be a one-off, and I'm very interested to see if they continue that.
Yeah, it's also interesting from the way that they moved Chase up to third in the batting order against lefties. Like, he's been batting more down the lineup too.
That's true.
So there's a lot of different things that occurred.
Also about time, right? Because there's no reason not to.
No, so what I see here is, it's something to try. I think they're trying to find ways to help, people feel more comfortable. I don't think we have the time. We'll save the Jose chatter for another day. But, the situation is they moved him up, and, he got some stolen bases and he got a walk, but he still didn't do much. A walk, and he got hit. Was he the one who got hit by a pitch? Yeah. So he reached base by getting hit and by a walk. He's very close to falling below a 700 OPS in the middle of May. It's still a guy this feels like hey, let's try to do anything we can to help him out, which is kind of terrifying when you think about it, that they're like, hey, let's put him in a place that he has always hit poorly and that he's expressed that he doesn't like, because we got to try anything to help him. Like, that's...
I will say Vogt's other reasoning was that, which I guess doesn't really make sense, because DeLauter is hitting lefties really well too, and Jose is this year. But he said, let's get two of our hitters against left-handed pitchers up to start the game in this one. and DeLauter hits lefties as well as Jose.
Yeah,
so
and Martinez actually hasn't most of this year.
Not this year, yeah. I mean, for what it's worth, and this
Bazzana has.
As Bazzana has. For what it's worth, if you want to look at the two ground outs Jose had today, 540 and 620 expected batting average, 104 off the bat, 99 off the bat, low launch angles. But
yeah, I feel like a lot of times his data is interesting because he'll have good launch angles or he'll have good expected batting averages, and then he just hits it right up the middle, and up the middle is death. So that's where it gets weird, because like expected batting average is purely launch angle and bat speed. So it doesn't take into account the fact
velocity.
The exit velocity. But doesn't
I don't think it takes into account hit direction. You're right. That's a good point.
Take into account hit direction, and Jose keeps dying in the field because he keeps hitting everything to center, like more than he's ever done it. So his expected batting averages are high, but they don't reflect what's happening because he just keeps hitting the ball to center field. Like he has so many hits that are just dead ducks into center field, and that's part of the problem there. So yeah, maybe someone who's better at swing mechanics can tell us what he needs to do, but he's pulling less hitting at the center. So even though he is optimized his swing, where he's putting the ball into play is failing him.
Yeah, it's really weird. That's why we don't have time for the debate today, but we'll see what he does over the weekend. But I'm not against leaving him in the 2-hole and seeing if that does.
It's weird because he said he doesn't like it in the past, and he hasn't performed well there. So
no, but he's not performing well in general this year in terms of outputs. So I guess it doesn't make a difference. All right, let's wrap up today doing some mock draft talk. So Baseball America's most recent mock draft had Derek Curiel going 19 after the trade to Cleveland. I am personally a little bit meh on Derek Curiel. Like, there's a lot of interesting batted ball data there, and he is, I don't know, he's a college outfielder who hits left-handed. So I guess there is a degree of
he is the second best rated player by percentile data, and you could even consider him the best because Chris Hakopian's data was so limited that it was almost so it's like Derek Curiel has the best composite batted ball data when you look at chase rate, contact rate, and exit velocity in this class. Number 2 would be Von Lackey. Number 3 is Logan Hughes, who I might like more than Curiel. But it's Rock Chalowski is 8th, because Rock does chase a bit. So it's interesting when you look at it in that regard. And he's a draft eligible sophomore. They've started to look at those players. That's still not their favorite grouping. I think that'd be a pick that is kind of the opposite of everything they have done recently. Though at the same time, what they did last year was new too. What they did last year was new, and they have gotten like zero return on investment. Like because Aaron Walton's probably their most successful pick so far in terms of production, and he wasn't really that type. You go and you look at like Jace Lavalette may not be in my top 30 prospects. Like for as much as people ran me over the coals about him, he's striking out 43% of the time. He's 21% below league average and high A. Like guys are expected to do what Walton's doing. They're not. I mean, this is non-prospect material for where he is. Like he's got to do massive changes. Remember what everyone talked about with Vance Honeycutt. At least Vance.
Oh man,
this is Vance Honeycutt 2.0. I mean, this is
Spencer Jones.
I mean, Spencer Jones had better contact rate. Like Spencer Jones got up to AAA because he could apply it a bit more. I mean, Spencer Jones was never a 43%. This is about as bad as it gets. So that new approach, and I talked about it in one of my solos. Like that was Rhys Hoskins. It's the whole approach where it's you don't chase, you walk, and it's okay if you strike out. Unfortunately,
as long as you hit the crap out of the ball.
Yeah, as long as you hit the crap out of the ball. But
which is not Derek Curiel, by the way.
No, it's not. So that's why it's interesting. And we respect the hell out of Carlos. We've had Carlos on the show. Carlos is one of the nicest people in the industry.
Happy birthday to him as we're
happy birthday. He's very well connected. Doesn't always get the Cleveland pick right, and that's not a knock. It's hard to get Cleveland's pick right where they're located.
Again, that's some intentionality on that too. If we're being honest, I think there is a little bit of gamesmanship on that. By the way,
he does. I think it's fair to say that he has friends in the front office. We can probably say it and leave it at that. But like, I mean, he's awesome. Like, no one clipped this for anything other than like we think the world of Carlos. Carlos is fantastic. Yes. The job he does when he is stuck around people who don't know the draft at all every year on draft night is phenomenal. Like he has to sit there and deal with talking heads who are talking out their backsides. He's really sitting there dealing with talking butts who don't know what they're talking about more often than not. And he comes across with a plume and charisma. So just everything. But, it's hard to project in 19. And he even says in that mock, like, okay, this would not line up with what they did a year ago. Like he even calls it out in there. So I think it's one of those situations where I got to be honest. Cleveland is, I think he had Curiel go there because he didn't, he was sliding. Like Curiel is a top 20 guy on every board. So it's like, okay, this could be a home for him, right? And the batted ball data is good and the production is solid and he's an up the middle talent. So Cleveland is kind of a nice landing spot for anyone because they'll take any bit of a
they will.
No, they'll not diagraphic. They'll take any group. Why can't I not think of the word for like different types of groups?
Demographic.
Demographic. There we go. They'll take any demographic.
If someone slides,
if they slide, I personally think at that point in the draft, like college pitching is probably the best thing to lean into just because I do not trust prep pitching at all. But college pitching and prep pitching are definitely looking like the part of that. And I'll say, like, if they want to get, everyone knows who listens to the show how much I like Devin Taylor. This year's Devin Taylor is Logan Hughes. Devin Taylor is lighting it up in high A. So I feel pretty good about where I was with that data. But Logan Hughes is that guy this year.
Hughes has better data than Curiel, or in some cases pretty similar. Like they're
because Curiel is top in multiple things, and Hughes just has exit velocity that he's better.
And you have the SEC for Curiel.
Yeah, so he's in the SEC. Yeah. It's like, but so Curiel has a 105.2 90th percentile exit velocity. Hughes is 107.3, so it's 2 miles off.
Pretty close.
Curiel just crushes him because he has the second lowest chase rate, and he has the 10th best contact rate. And, again, Hughes is green in all of those. He's just a green prospect across the board. That's what Taylor was for me a year ago. So that's why I liked him quite a bit. But, like, Logan Hughes is kind of in that range. I'm a big fan of. You and I both kind of agreed off air that the dream scenario would be a Drew Burress fall, but
Drew Burress is right-handed. So even that would be a dream. But I mean, Cleveland's very against taking right-handed hitters.
True.
So
and there is a lot of Clint Frazier in terms of some of the confidence, the size, some of the
I do like Burris, but
I do. He's going to be a top 10 talent for me as well. But it does feel like, I don't know, like they haven't taken a college pitcher since Gavin Williams with their top overall pick. And the last time they took a prep arm in the first 20 picks was Dan Denham. Because Brady Aiken technically was not a prep arm. He was a guy who had gone and pitched, at a campus. Dan Denham was also the last time they had drafted a prep arm. If you don't count Brady Aiken, they hadn't taken a prep arm in the first round until Daniel Spino. So, and for those who don't know Dan Denham, he was the 17th overall pick in 2001. That's how long it's been since they took a prep arm in the top 20. So it's been a while. Like I said, I like Hughes in that range for a hitter. I like Aiden Robbins, but they won't take him because he's right-handed. And then it's like, okay, so then I like any of the arms, the Cade Townsends, the
Hunter Dietz, I guess.
Hunter Dietz, Logan Redeman, if you want to gamble on his health. Cole Carlin is interesting and fun. That's at that point in the draft. That's where I'll throw this out there. I was so wrong when I said this about Travis Bazzana, but like Cade Townsend feels like a guy with his secondary offerings who missed some time with injury this year that conceivably could be a bullpen arm for a team because he's got that advanced secondary offering. You could, in a small sample, see someone like him get pushed through quickly.
Yeah, the size and the health issues kind of scare me.
Make that a little dangerous, yeah.
Yes, especially at 19, and you don't have the 29th pick now. I just
they have a typical draft like most people. Like they just don't have that parachute that they normally get as a small market team.
Yeah, my big thing here is like based on this mock, I just don't like the college hitters available here. Like it's not a very good college hitter class at this point of the draft based on who Carlos had. So I wouldn't be overly whelmed with Derek Curiel at this point in the draft. I would, like Dietz and Townsend are interesting.
It doesn't bother me as much because I think Curiel is going to be a top 12 guy when it's all said and done because he does a bit of everything and he's excelled in the SEC as a sophomore and he has the longest track records of success. I'm
just getting very Tyler Naquin vibes.
No, Naquin didn't have quite the track. Like if you go look up Naquin's data, like it's comical now. I'll go pull it up on Baseball Cube because it's like at the time he was quote unquote the best hitter in that draft class. So was Bradley Zimmer. And Naquin, his final year at Texas A&M, sure he hit 380, but this is with the metal bat era. And where was it? Like he had 3 home runs. He hit 2 home runs the year before. He hit 7 home runs as an everyday starter across 3 seasons at Texas A&M. 3. I'm talking about no power at all. That was Naquin in college. It's great he had high batting averages 2 years in a row, but he was just a very kind of patient, passive hitter. Yeah. Curiel's had 3 home runs in the SEC this year alone. He's got
career,
and that's only 2 years, not 3, because he's a draft eligible sophomore. So, I think, and he's doing it in the SEC, which was even back then when the Big 12 was really solid. The SEC has been king for as long as I've been doing this thing.
Fair. Yeah, I don't really love the college bats here personally. I mean, I'm a little more willing to take a prep pitcher than you are at this juncture.
Yeah, I'm not. I won't.
Yeah,
I'm full out on all prep pitchers.
Yeah, I mean, my guy right now is Carson Bullman, so we'll see what happens there. He's a little bit older, but all right, Jeff. Off day Thursday for the Guardians. They have earned it. Definitely good to have an off day after a sweep. Like that's the best you can really feel. We'll take mailbag questions from the insiders and everydayers for Thursday. And Jeff, we got to talk about the Ohio Cup.
No,
the most
don't
important
care.
Trophy in baseball.
Don't
care. Talking Ohio Cup.
Maybe I'll
tomorrow.
3D print a cup for tomorrow at work just so I can come on and break it on the air. That's how little.
You can't be an athlete. Be an athletic supporter.
Nope. I am no strap of jocks. Thank you all for joining us. Remember to rate and review, download daily.
Cup.
It helps.
Cup.
The Ohio Cup is trash. It's right up there with that trophy that they gave for the Lions and Browns. I don't even know that's name, but it's not important because
how dare you?
It's also trash. Thank you all, and go Guardians, go.